Yo.
Yes, man. Yes, people. Tonight on Mandem Chat, we've got part 2 in this series with Mr. Original Luton Activist Foundation, Mr. Glenn Jenkins in the place. Big up yourself, Glenn. So, in part 1, you spoke about the Exodus years. This time round, we're going to talk about the development of Marsh House and your future plans. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, man. So over to you, Mr. G. Respect, brother.
Yeah, thanks to the mans then for the invitation again, part 2, you know what I mean? So yeah, grateful for to talk to you. I think it's a great thing, mans then. We were just saying before, weren't we? You know, about getting together to talk. Yes, Blaps in the back there. Yeah, man. Okay, so Marsh House, in a nutshell, Marsh House has got a long history, Luton history, not just in terms of it used to be 200 years ago, it was a farmhouse for the land which is now Marsh Farm. Right, so tenant farmers who were farming the land at Marsh Farm were living there for 200 years, maybe from 1800 time. And we've got records going back to that time of people, Jeremiah Smith and his wife Anne were the tenant farmers back in 1800. So it's got a long agricultural history, and it's also from when in the 60s now, what was called Luton Corporation, Luton Borough Council, bought the land at Marsh Farm to build Marsh Farm Estate. And with that, they bought the farmhouse as well. So it got stopped using as a farmhouse and started be using as a community centre run by the council. And in them days, there was a top team of people back in the 70s, Paul Jolly, Linda, Muddy, you know, people, Fahim Qureshi, Newville, you know, them man, right? There was loads of them who were instrumental in a lot of Luton's creative, like Gemini started there, for example, sound system, you know what I mean? And what became Luton 33 Arts, do you remember downtown in Guildford Street, Arts Club? Where a lot of Luton, that was at they closed at Marsh House. So Crass, the punk band, you know, as you come into Marsh House, there's a hut, an old Nissen hut, they call it. It's an old wartime hut. And that was used back in the day for dances and live performances and things like this, yeah. So it's got a farming and a cultural history. And we was occupying the studio at the back from 2000 onwards. And in 2010, the council shut the front house down. I think they shut it down in 2008, actually, for 5 years. And it caught dry rot. It caught a case of dry rot in the walls, in the first floor, and in the roof. So we got a knock saying, look, you're gonna have to get out of here. The house is going to be pulled down by Luton Borough Council's asset team. And we've like, you must be mad. This place is not only valuable, it's got a community history, which it would be a crime against the community to pull that down just because the council would let it rot, you know what I mean, by leaving it shut for 5 years. So we made, like, long story short, it was a common sense arrangement, which was you guys from the council pay for the dry rot treatment to have the walls injected and all of that, and we marshalled the labour, voluntary labour, to put it right. So we bought the materials. The labour was volunteers, us and others throughout from the community. And we restored originally the first floor of the house to stop it from falling down and rot. And then we negotiated a long lease from the council on what we call an earned rent basis. So we get a quantity surveyor to price up the value of the work we're doing. And that means rent paid, do you know what I mean? Rather than cash, right? Which is important because we want to use it for affordable food, drink, activity, wedding, funeral, affordable, not unaffordable. So the cheaper it can be in terms of overheads, the better. So we did this earned rent arrangement and we restored the full building over the past 3 years since they give us a 4 years, since they give us a long lease, 25-year lease. So we got the club part of it. There's 6 enterprises based there. There's a music studio. There's a social club and bar restaurant. There's going to be a daytime cafe called Source of the Lee. And they're all social businesses. They're not private make loads of money businesses. They're pay wages, any profits back in the middle businesses like that. There's a Revolution Arts based upstairs, and we've just got 5 different groups. Luton Urban Radio have got the station, as you saw, and we've got 5 different groups currently moving into what's going to be a shared hot desk space, and they range from African Caribbean health and wellbeing group, student support charity, you know what I mean? And the idea is they get it much cheaper than if they was having to rent an office downtown. So all in all, we saved the building, and it's become, in my humble opinion, I mean, I'm proud to be part of it, and it's become one of Luton's most beautiful, if not anything else, but culturally nice, feelable venues, you know. And I mean, you know, even in the couple of years, well, lockdown interrupted us, but even in that couple of years we've been open, there's been some just amazing stuff going on there, you know, with the studio, with the barn, with the place, you know, generally. So that's a potted history of us saving it back in the day 10 years ago, right till current day.
So did it take 10 years then to bring it up to spec?
Well, we did the first floor, but the thing is, Spencer, we was on a 6-month lease. So the first floor, they gave us this rent earn premium to take us through to 2019. So, right, but they wouldn't give us a long lease. To invest all the rest of the time, which was the major part of the work, was done in the second part. All the downstairs, open it up, build that platform, build the bar, or put the toilets in, the electric wire, all of that was in a second stage. But we weren't going to do that on a 6-month renewable lease.
Yeah.
Because you know how them man stay, they'd be going like, oh, thanks very much, sweet, you're out, and we've got a restored plat. Seriously, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So we was going, look, we need a 25. And it took us 4 years to get that, because there's certain people in the council here. The council generally, parks, community development, they're all great with us and we're good with them. But there's a little sliver of people in the council who we've been doing a long time conflict with, yeah? And them that sliver has had it in for me and us for 30 years, bro, right? Since Exodus days. Because, you know what I mean? Yeah, we've been clashing since then. And they kind of like got it in for me in a lot of ways and us. And they always try and stick an oar in, yeah? So it took us 4 years to secure a lease. And we got that in 2017. And we signed it. And so from when we got that, that unlocked us to be able to do the main next stage of work to get the place open. And that took us 3 years, because what you got to understand is we ain't had no grant money for this.
Yeah.
Had no outside help. We did it completely ourselves. So for every beer you've bought at the bar, any money made on that was going into wallpaper the next room, so we could let that out then. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been an incremental skint people's way of doing it, you know what I mean? And we get rent from a couple of the organisations who are based with us now, and we were able to offer them rent at cheaper than they get downtown, you know what I mean, where they were based previously. And that as well, that money has been used to bit by bit by bit. So if we'd gone for the big grant, you know, you'd do it in 6 months, build it. But we've done it like, I'd say with love in terms of the labour, and bit by bit as we could afford the materials, we developed it. So it took 3 years, and then lockdown happened. So in lockdown, we took that opportunity to finish off some of the development works, you know, because otherwise I'd have gone mad. I don't know about you, if I couldn't have done something in lockdown, you know what I mean? So that's where we are now. 90% finished, you know, we've still got a bit to do, but 90% we're there. And now we've got the future to look to, because I'll tell you in a minute the details of it. We've been involved in a dispute with them same sliver of council. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But that's where we are with the development of the building, you know.
Right. That is an amazing achievement still. You guys should be proud of yourselves, man.
I'm honoured, man, to be part of it, because it's not only for Marsh Farm and Luton, it's setting an example, a model example of how we, the community, because we know what we need better than the council or the government or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? and doing things by the people for the people, which is what Exodus is all about. It's what this is all about. You know, we build things and create our own jobs, we create our own enterprise, we create our own space, and it's kind of autonomous, you know what I mean? We're autonomous rather than, whereas if you go into the realm of grant funding and all this, it's all with conditions attached. And one of them is no rebellions. You know, and we don't sign up to that. You know, I mean, when I sign up to no rebellion clauses in your grant funding, no man. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where we are.
Proper rebellious.
Yeah, you know.
Anybody else have a question they want to ask Glenn? Open the floor.
I'm leaving it open. Anyone?
Hold on, Sydney.
Sydney's got a hand up.
Yeah, Sydney's got his hand up. Go on, Sydney.
Hey, Glenn. How you
Hey,
doing?
Sydney, man. What's going on, man? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Yes, sir. Hey, you're good?
Yeah, man, I'm good, man.
I had the pleasure of coming to visit you at Marsh House on Monday. I was very impressed with what you've done there. How long did that take you to do? And I mean, I know I don't, without divulging too much in terms of cost and of operations. Or what did that cost in? What did that cost to do up again?
Well, when we did the first stage upstairs, just rescuing the first floor and stopping the dry rot, we had to put a metal bar in, you know, to structure it, to make it safe. That bit of work, we got a quantity surveyor to measure that, and that was valued at £110,000 in terms of the cost of the. Obviously, the labour we provided ourselves with great assistance from big, beautiful people in the community. You know what I mean? Who put in their elbow in it. But if you valued it at what it would cost to get it done by the builder, it was £110,000. The second bit of work we did would easily come to £250,000 in terms of the labour, the materials. I mean, materials have probably cost us £70,000–£80,000, you know, in terms of the bits you need to do it. So, and we've done that over 3 years through our own earnings, not just at the bar, but we do community organising work. And sometimes we get paid for that, and we'll bring that in and use that. So it's been all our own doing, you know. But if you costed it, and I'm glad to say that the council, God willing, on the 25th of July, the council are having a full executive meeting to sign off an asset transfer to us, or to accept a recommendation that justice should be done here. And part of that would be that they're going to do a valuation, not just of the monetary value, but what they call community uplift. Yeah. So look at all the spirited things we're doing there. They're worth more than the money that's been invested. It's that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
they're going to measure what they call community uplift. And that's well overdue. It's long overdue. And when they do that, then that'll be a formal acknowledgement, if you like. So answer to your question, Bryce, it's over 300 grand in terms of monetary value, you know, of what we've contributed to, what we've added. And if we paid the rent there for 25 years at 10 grand a year, that's £250,000. So we've gone well over what, and then they tried to charge us rent once we'd restored the fact, you know what I mean? That's the conflict we've just been in, where all of a sudden, instead of the rent earned agreement, which we've been working on, and that's the understanding we're doing it on, that, you know, and next thing they tell us in lockdown, no, we're not gonna do that anymore, you know. That's my boy there.
Yeah. So how did it actually start? Did you just look at it and say, you know what, we're gonna fix this place up, or what? Did someone, what was the,
you know, we got a background in Exodus, yeah.
Yeah.
Asmana, Longmeadow Farm, Oakmore Hotel. We occupy derelict spaces and make community sense out of them. Like, you got a load of people whose skills are being wasted by unemployment, and you've got buildings that are being wasted by dereliction. It makes sense to put those two together,
yeah,
and make community out of that. And then everyone's got work, and I don't mean paid work, I mean activity. People are building homes and learning skills, which then became paid work, you know. So because we got that background, and we're squatters as well, you know, we kind of, we don't sort of say, excuse me, can we? Had an 8-year campaign, as I described last time, of squatting and then winning through on that. So when we put it to the council that you can't let that rot, you know, it's kind of implicit that nor would we, man. If you don't do a sensible thing here, we would organise a community occupation of it, make a campaign out of it and say, no way, you're not knocking this down and all of that. So I think they thought better of it and say, okay, let's make this common sense deal. So that's how it was, because we was in the studio and then it's gone derelict. They want to evict us, and that alerted us to the fact that, wow, it's gone wrong. Let's save it. You know, that's how it came about.
Amazing. Amazing.
One other question was, how do you maintain it perpetually? I mean, I know you can rent out the spaces and you can do activities there, but I don't think that will generate enough revenue, especially if you're not taking funding. Why I'm asking that is because I'm thinking of setting up something very similar where you're saying that skills are being wasted and you have unemployed people and you have skills going derelict. But now I'm thinking, how do I bridge the gap between not applying for funding, because that would mean that I'd have to do this, certain things a certain way, but also I'd like to have my own independence. How do you keep it perpetually going?
Well, that's the key to what they call community development, what I'd call by the people. You know, it's key, isn't it, that it needs to be sustainable, self-sustainable itself. So when we proposed to them, even before we squatted, when back in the day, I would always present a business plan for it, showing this is how we would sustain this place. This is how we would make it so it's viable. And, you know, if I get run over tomorrow, it don't matter, it's still running, and etc. You know, it needs to be long-term sustainable because it's community building. So with that, it's a combination of rents, income. I mean, at the moment, it's not generating anything like enough to, for the bar or the couple of the operations to pay rent. But by next year, they'll be in a position where they're contributing rent. 2 of the operations already do. And when that's fully happening, a combination of that and the bar, the cafe that's going to run there, we've got a business plan that says we can wash its face, as they call it, yeah, make it pay for its own itself, yeah, it's self-standing. So it's a mixture of rent, so income from the social enterprises that are based there. That's how we do it. And of course, this crucial issue about rent, you know, not having to pay a massive rent helps massively towards that. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, it just brings me to a question I've got. As I've been going to this place since I was a child in single digits, and growing up in Hawker Ring, you're growing up in Marsh Farm, Sundon, Lucy, you're growing up Marsh Farm, everywhere. And then I moved to Marsh Farm, I was living there. So I was going to Marsh House before it got locked down. And then now it's back, and it's back in the community as it should be. And I'm involved in there, I teach there, and I'm loving where it's going. That's my question is, what are the plans for you? I'll just teeing you up right now.
Thank you, Vic.
What's the plan,
bro? Yes, Victor. The plans are, in practical terms, the plans are that it's a social club, but it's not just a social club, it's a social action hub. So it's about community organising funded ultimately. That's the difference between it and a nightclub or a pub or a club. The point is bringing people together with a view to addressing stuff. Yeah. So we have Rob, my co-pilot there, he's trained in community organising training. Yeah. So issues which are, there's a lot of issues in it that people feel strongly about, but the lack of organisation in communities means we're prey victims. So it's a social club and community action hub. And our ambition with it is that it becomes self-funding, so it washes its face. I mean, at the moment, none of us get paid I'm on universal credit at the moment because we got locked down from the lockdown. And even before that, we're only managing £150 a week each because it's slow growth. You know what I mean? So yeah, ambition is that we'd be able to get all of the people in there so that they're paid at a full-time level. So you've got jobs to show that we created for ourselves. and the building's completely restored, completely, you know, with like a new upstairs section and all of that, and that it is in the grounds surrounding Marsh House. I mean, we start on the 25th of June, car boot sales in the beautiful paddock field next to it. And again, you know, it's £5 a pitch because it's deliberately cheap, because the idea is everyone's skint, man, and people could be making some change from getting the rubbish out their cupboard, and one man's rubbish is another man's treasure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All things like that, man. It's about generating social and community enterprises and activities that are good for us, you know, not only socially and spiritually, but economically as well, you know, some jobs and incomes and boot sales and things like that. And you'll see, Victor, you know that it's got, I mean, I love it. It's got Bob Marley on the wall because Bob Marley symbolises the whole of everybody, the whole community, you know, it's one love, it's all of us. And it says on the wall, united we stand, together we rise. And I hope that Marsh House contributes to a coming together of everyone in our community, no matter what race, creed, colour you are. People, you know, poor people generally are, we've all got the same issues. So it's a place for bringing people together. And if we succeed in 3 years' time, it will be completely self-funding. That will be happening writ large. And even now, some of the magnet energy that goes on there. I mean, today we had a guy called William who came here. He's an artist from Australia, singer, and he's doing a European tour with Midnight. Oh, William Crichton, his name. He's a lovely guy, man. But he's like going to be rehearsing there for 2 days in June before he goes on his European tour. And the reason he's loving it is because, you know, Victor, the feel of the place, it's not bland and boring, and it feels like somewhere to be. You know?
Everyone that visits the place admires the vibe that's going on there.
Exactly.
It's so welcoming. Everyone's relaxed. Everyone feels safe. I make sure of that. But you know, it is. It's that feeling that you're part of a community thing, a legacy that's going on.
That's
and the most beautiful thing to me is that when I'm gone, I know that's gone. That's continuing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And I used it. My children will use it. My grandchildren will use it. It's awesome. So it's exactly the kind of thing I'm trying to do. Leave something behind. That's what you do when you're gone. You leave heaven behind for whoever's coming next.
There you go. There you go.
Go on, Mark. You got something to say?
Yeah, Glenn. Yeah, man. We you know, we love the works. What you've done, you know, and you should. I said earlier, you should feel really proud, brother.
I mean, I'm one of a good few, man. You know what I mean?
Wonderful. It's a wonderful thing, and the way, you know, you've got all of these different organisations all involved using the place. So that leads me on to my question, Glenn. Exactly, who's actually in the place? I know the studio's there. I know LUR's there. Who else is actively just sort of using?
Okay. Okay. So you've got Marsh House Studio, which is self-contained, different entrance, because they do in the daytime. They have kids who have been excluded from school going into there and doing music production, literacy, numeracy. Do you know what I mean? It's like an alternative school. In there, you've got Michael who runs that. Yeah. In our bit, in the bar bit and social bit, we call that Fidel Gastros, as you know. So it's a club. So myself, Matai, before he passed away, was Matai Chance, my long lifelong brother.
Yeah, man, rest easy,
rest Matai. Yeah.
No,
Matai, myself, Rob and Dave are that enterprise. So the bar, the social club. With that, Donna and Annie are the bar managers. They manage the bar. You've got upstairs, you've got Luton Urban Radio, as you know, which I think there's about 28 them, is there something like that now, 28 DJs up there. And you've got Revolution Arts, who are a fantastic organisation who support arts throughout Luton. Yeah, and we're blessed to have them there because they've got a wealth of knowledge and production skills. And they like to support budding artists who have got, you know what I mean? So they're upstairs.
Yeah.
And you've got Root Community Transformation based in our office with us. That's Steve Jacob, who turned some of the skills he learned on Marsh House, where he was doing technical drawings to put plans into the council as part of the war. You know, yeah, you think we're fit because we're poor. Old some of that. It was that, you know, Steve learned technical drawing and he now does it for people who are getting planning applications, and he's a community enterprise, community interest company.
Yeah.
And then you've got another 5 groups.
Big up Steve, man. It's funny enough, Steve, well, when I first started coming around Exodus and the man them, it was Gaza and Steve who I kind of knew first. I always knew you, Glenn, innit, from Gemini days. But,
man.
But you know, when I started moving on to man them, it was Steve and Gaza.
Now with Gaza and Steve, they're Exodus originals. We all are there, you know what I mean? Mickey Ross, all that. Right, but the thing is with Gaza started engineering the studio when we first opened it in 99, 2000. So he's got decades of being there. Steve, same way, like you say, Warwicker, he was the man who you first buck up on, you know.
Yeah.
And again, that's another beautiful thing about it, is people just been together for years there, you know what I mean? And, you know, co-built it. So yeah, so that's who's in there. And we've got 5 more groups just ready to move in the hot desking space. So basically what we do is divide the cost of that office between 5 unfunded groups, so they can have a desk and a room for £25 a week, basically. And it makes it affordable, you know what I mean? They're a range of groups from, one of them is dealing with African Caribbean Health and Wellbeing Project. One of them gives their student supports who are in poverty. I think they're called Acorn. They provide poverty relief to students at the university and all that, which is just a scandalous thing to have to exist for, isn't it? You know. And we've got Trevor Adams was in today. He's going to be holding the desk down there, Pastor Trevor. He does family matters and those sort of things.
Yeah, I'd like to get him on there, actually. You know, I'm glad you said that, Glenn.
Oh, he's a warrior,
Trevor
man.
Adams,
He's one of the town's warriors, man, Trevor.
Yeah, send me his contact, a link.
I will.
Yeah.
I call him the Rasta Pastor, but he's not a Rasta man. But
He's been doing some good work around for a good number of years. Trevor.
He has, man. He certainly has.
Yeah, big up, Trevor. Anyone else got any more questions?
Yeah, I think Marvin has. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just ask. So Glenn, are you full to capacity, or is there room for any other organisations that want to join up down there and run their organisation from down there? Obviously, networking with all other organisations that's already down there.
The answer to that is we're full up in terms of the spaces up there and all of that. But what we did with the hot desking spaces, we've let it to 5. We've licensed to use for 5 groups, right? And then there's a desk left in there which can be used by people who've got no support and need to kickstart something, perhaps, you know. But we're that Nissan hut on the way in, we're going to be securing use of that as well. We were in the process of asset transfer before they come with this rent dispute nonsense. They were transferring that to us, and we got a business plan to turn that into an education and heritage centre, but multi-usable as well, you know. So you could do a number, you know, from Victor's Kung Fu, Wing Chun through to, you know what I mean? A number of things could be done in there. So there's room, always room for networking, for coming down there, spending time there, having a coffee in the cafe, linking up. There's always room for that for everybody, you know. But in terms of actually tenants there, we're full up. I'm glad to say and sad to say in another way. Yeah.
Well, one more question. You said that was a farmhouse, yeah?
Yeah.
1 minute, Spencer. Sorry, one more question. You said that Marsh House was a farmhouse. So all of this land coming up to Marsh Farm, was it farm land? Was it actual farm?
Yep. If you know Luton, Luton Town Centre.
Because obviously this is way before my time and knowings of.
Yeah, well, no, look, Luton as a town, you've got your town centre, and around it you've got Lucy Farm, Marsh Farm, Tive Farm. They were all really previously farms. all of them, yeah. And then as time gone, they become council estates because they built all these council estates circling around the town. So our one was actually called Marsh Farm, and we got a load of agricultural history for it, even like old orders for you know, back in the days of florins and shillings and all that sort of thing. So yeah, there's a rich history of being a farmer.
Yeah. It's good. That's good.
It's mad, isn't it? Mark.
Yeah.
Now, part of that is Henge Farm now.
Yeah, we made that in a different place, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so up at Underwood.
Yeah, Glenn.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask was like, so, you know, you've been doing this sort of community activism for years. You know what I mean? You're one of the pillars of the thing. Yeah. So, what kind of advice would you give to sort of anybody looking to start their own sort of organization, community organization, social enterprise? Just in a nutshell, what kind of ethos should be going for, and any sort of advice you can offer really to?
You know, I mean, just off the top of my head, when you say that, relationships is everything, isn't it? In anything you do, right? And I've got this thing where when we had Longmeadow Farm, when we squatted that farm and then turned it into a community farm, one of the things that I love about that was that we had a few horses down there, you know, right? And through the travellers, man, we link up with them and they gave us a few horses and that. And all of a sudden, whether it's your ute, my ute, his ute, her ute, anyone's ute, our utes in Lucy Marsh Farm were riding horses for the first time in their life, you know what I mean? And what I loved about that was they're our horses. So my daughter, your daughter. I'm not really on the one of my horse, my daughter, as long as my daughter, you know what I mean? That sort of ME one, where as the world is, you know, people, you have your horse, it's your horse, and your daughter's cool, but everyone else ain't got an horse, you know. I'm not with that. And I think if you're building something with people and money's the goal, watch it fall over pretty sharpish, man. Do you know what I mean? Right? If money's the ambition, that's a business in a normal way, shall we say? You know, where it's about private gain, and if that spirit crosses into this, what we do, cooperative, collectives, not for private profit, it'll mash it down quick time. Yeah. So the values of the people you're doing it with is the relationship you've got with them is the most crucial thing, you know, for me. And the rest of it is about organisation work, man. It's like they teach us at school to be organised by the hierarchy. You know, you get taught obedience to authority at school, not collective self-management and collective self. Yeah. You know, like we've done there, we self-manage ourselves. Yeah, they teach you out of it. They deliberately teach you to be obedient to the next one in the pyramid. And we have to shape that mindset, and that we do that through a number of different ways, but hands-on doing a project is the best way, because you then have to learn, like, if you want flat management, you know what I mean? And that to me is core crucial to, if you are genuinely building a community thing, not a private thing. Nothing wrong with private things, by the way. That's go Barclays for that. That's what they call the real work. In the world of community, the values that bond the people is critical. And I don't care if it's the whalers or we. If money comes in and starts dividing people, that'll be the death of it. You know what I mean?
So true. So true.
Yeah. Great answer, Glenn. Anyone else? Come on, man. We've got people in the place, man.
Frightened to talk, innit?
15 people. Come on, man.
Do you want me to just bring you up to date with the dispute we've been having? So
yeah, please.
Where we've landed, because it's not gone public yet, but I'll just give you 2 minutes on that. Yeah. So the dispute was when we got to that stage 2 where we've done that work now and it's looking beautiful like it is now. 2019 was when the first stage of rent earned run out. And the plan was, what we thought the agreement was was that when we get to 2019, when that runs out, we negotiate how long the rest of the extended earned rent is. So having done that sort of £250,000 of improvement work, certain people at the council then turned around to us and said, no, I don't remember any conversation about earned rent. Here's a 10 grand bill for rent. And I'm like, you're joking, come on, what are you talking about?
No way.
We're going to do all that, and then we pay you rent after we save the building, you're responsible. But yeah, right, and that was what they threw at us. And then they hit us for 10.5 grand during lockdown, rent in lockdown. And trust me, guys, right, we had meetings with these dudes at the council, particularly a couple of them, who had promised us to my face that we would get a community asset transfer because it had merit and it was right. And the COVID rent period was wiped because that's what the council would do. We had all these promises. And then it was like he was double facing us, yeah? He was two-facing us. He went to the council privately and told the whole councillors that we're coming like we were robbers, man. Oh, they're refusing to pay rent, they're illegally letting to tenants, and a whole heap of nonsense, right, in this report. So that led to conflict. And luckily, we'd recorded those meetings that we had with him, you know what I mean, right? Which was blessed, because if we hadn't, I don't think I'll be saying the same. I think we'd be at battle now. But generally, the good news is, so we've been at last 6 months, we've been at loggerheads, and they served us with an eviction threat saying if you don't pay £1 grand a month for the rent arrears of 22 grand through COVID and all that, plus £1 grand a month new rent, so 2 grand a month, and we don't make 2 grand in 3 months, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous, right? So they know that we won't be able to do that. So it weren't like them trying to get money out of us. They know that's like blood out of a stone. We ain't got that, and we don't make that. So it was bare about closing us down, we think, yeah, because of this hostile strand in there. But what's happened is, a couple of weeks ago, they sent in an independent reviewer from the standards panel, the governmental standards, to review that the dispute we'd had with them. And he's come back and pretty much ruled on all fronts with us. He said, like, you can't call it commercial if it was a bricked up derelict, and then treat them like they're a commercial tenant. You know, if you're a commercial tenant, you expect all the paint on the walls and the lights working, and you know what I mean?
All right, okay, that's proper.
Yeah, and he told them, wipe out the 10.5 grand COVID money. That's an insult. You know what I mean? Wipe that out. He's told them, extend the rent earned deal they'd already awarded us, because he said that was ungenerous, and so extend that cancels out any rent claim they've got now. And then he says that opens up the road for a community asset transfer, which is the just and right thing. And what that means is that we get a 25-year lease, but at £1 a year peppercorn rent. And we're not asking for anything that other groups in Luton who have had council assets transferred, that's what they get. So we were being asked for 10 grand, and we're the only ones who saved it from dereliction. Everyone else got it handed on a painted up, nice key, nice windows, and theirs is £1 a year. So it was discriminatory against us. It was designed to hurt us. And I'm glad to say that the independent reviewer made his recommendations, because he must be a righteous man rather than a snake.
Yeah, he's a good sort.
Yeah, that goes to the council on the 25th of July. And I'm asking everyone here, I'm all concerned, right? We're going to populate that and make sure we applaud when they make the right decision, because they don't want to make the wrong one, you know what I mean? So they basically just got to accept his recommendations, and then we're free. And then that allows us to do that future, Victor, we was talking about, you know what I mean, without the burden of 20 grand a year to the council. You know, that means we'll have to charge tenner on the door and all that to even begin to cover that, you know.
So it's a 25-year lease.
It's a 25-year lease, yeah, and it'll be at £1 a year. So at last, justice, because that properly acknowledges and respects the work we've done to get it to where it is.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what. So on the 25th of July, if everybody can be there, I'd be most grateful. We all would, because we're going to try and populate that.
Definitely.
That chamber, man. You know
Yeah, for real. 25th of July, yeah?
Yeah, we can do a
Where's
man
that?
session
Where's that?
there.
Luton Town Hall, yeah?
Luton Town Hall in the main council chamber. Yeah, yeah, man.
What day? What
Sure.
day does that fall on?
That's Monday, the 25th of July. I think it's a Monday, is it? Let's have a look.
Shall we all put a bucket round so we can raise the 25 quid to pay 25 years up front?
Victor, we've paid it out of our graft. We've paid it, mate. You know what I mean? That's what I was saying to him. I said, don't think there's any chance of getting a penny off of Stash because we've more than paid for it. You know what I mean? But yes, it's Monday, the 25th of July.
Yeah.
At the town hall, 6 p.m. So like rice and peas, and then down the town hall, and we're on. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah.
Say nothing, brother. Say nothing.
We'll be there supporting, man.
Hello?
And man, then we'll be there supporting, brother.
Someone
no
coming in.
dumplings.
Yes, we will. Who is that?
No dumplings.
It's me.
Of course, and dumplings, man.
Can't miss out the fried dumpling, you know, bro.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I have to.
Yes, I was wondering. So, I'm still confused to know what is it an organization? Is it what you do? Is it
Yeah, we're a cooperative.
Oh, corporate.
Yeah, Marsh Farm Outreach is a community interest company. So all of the organisations at Marsh House are community interest company. So what that means, I don't know if everybody knows, but what that means is rather than a normal private business, you have to be a socially driven and show that. Yeah, so you make a community interest statement. And so what is your community interest going to be? And ours is that we will restore Marsh House and bring it back to its proper state, and then open up for community not-for-profit use and stuff like that, which is what we're doing. So there's about 8 of us at the moment in MFO, but it changes as we go along, Abdul. You know, as we move along, if we bring on a new project, 4 people might join us and we become 12. Other times we'll be down to 3, you know, through death, divorce and deportation, man. You know what I mean? We've had some serious issues along the way, haven't we, Victor? You know what I mean? In terms of losing brothers and, you know, lots of things. So it changes and flexes, but we've been registered as a cooperative now for 16 years.
So I was wondering, sorry about my ignorance, but the thing is, so you say you have different projects and everything like that. What kind of projects do you actually get involved with?
Well, our project is basically about facilitating communities to do things for ourselves. Yeah. So at the moment, we're working on Marsh Farm Futures, you know, the bigger building in Marsh Farm. We're working on democratizing that, because at the moment it's run by a small, tiny number of people, and the rest of the community are disconnected from it. And that was never its purpose. So at the moment, we're working on building up 4 a year popular neighbourhood assemblies, where they're not just boring meetings. There's arts, theatre, you know, local people doing stuff. So it's an enjoyable thing. And that will sort of transform democracy at a local level on Marsh Farm. That's an example of the projects we work on. So, and then there's other people doing brilliant. Well, I mean, for example, today we're going to re-link up with a group of young guys from Marsh Farm who want to do calisthenics, you know, the sport bars and things like that. But they want to form a community interest company and do it socially. So there's a range of things, but generally the principle is we'll support people who want to set up community interest projects, whether it be a business or whether it be an activity.
Brilliant. So we got Paul wants to ask a question. You there, Paul?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Paul.
Yes, Glenn. You're good, bro. The community transfer was it called?
Community asset transfer.
Community asset transfer you went through.
Yeah.
So how does it work ordinarily?
What
But,
without?
obviously the process you went through is probably not the standard process, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
How does it work?
Okay.
Ordinarily?
I mean, we're just about to re-go through that, Paul, you know, because we did go through that, the standard normal process. But you're right. Generally, if there's no conflict involved, what happens is the council have to, have to identify what they call assets of community value. They've got a register of assets, and that's community centres, swimming pools, parks, buildings, all of that that the council own, and have got a statutory duty to keep them doing what they're doing. Yeah. In some cases, in Luton's case, all of the community centres, Bushmead, Rainham Way, all of those different centres, if there's a group of local, active, able to take that project on, the council they've got no money to run them, Paul, that's the bottom line. So they've had to start relying on community groups who are not for profit to run them. So people have formed, like on Bushmead, there's an existing trust there, the Bushmead Trust. I can't remember the official name of it, but Paul Hammond and all those guys, Scott Eastwood. There's a committee there, and the process there is pretty straightforward. What you have to do is you put forward an application for community asset transfer of said building, and you have to provide a business plan, a statement of community benefit, how that would benefit the community. The business plan has to demonstrate how you'll make it so that it won't be dependent on funds and stuff like that to run. It'll be able to run itself, and make the case through those two documents to the council. They should asset transfer that. If they do, it still belongs to the council in terms of you can't sell it. You know, it's not something you can, it's not we own it and we can sell it. But we have now got license to use it for 25 years at £1 peppercorn. And that's what the eventual outcome of a community asset transfer is that on a peppercorn rent, because obviously we have to invest any money, as do any other group, that we make to make it run and pay its costs. So you're not burdened with rent. And it's that simple, really, you know. And then what happens is your application goes to the executive and the officers. They will check, does it meet the criteria? So is it on the council's disposable list? Does it fit that community asset criteria? Are the group concerned the right group to be running it? They sometimes open it up for other groups who might want to say we'd run that or we'd do something different with it. Not in our case because we rescued it, but generally they would do that. Although saying that, in Luton's example, there was already existing groups, so they transferred directly. And that's it. It then goes to the executive and they make a decision on whether to support that asset transfer or not. That's not actually the decision we're going for on the 25th. The 25th is for them to accept his recommendations in regard to our dispute. But yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell, Paul. It's business plan, statement of community benefit, and then consideration of that by the executive of the council.
That's based on pre-existing properties.
Yeah, ones they already run and own and run. And as in the case of ours, they could no longer afford, the council ain't got the budgets to be running these things like they used to. So,
but yeah, they wouldn't need it. Yeah, obviously, yeah. I was going to say, so if you've got your own commercial building, I guess you would need an asset transfer, then, would you really?
No, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and if it's your own commercial building, that can be used to make you into a millionaire if you want. You know what I mean? It's a private enterprise, whereas ours is a community interest company. So if I wasn't that, if we was Glenn Jenkins PLC and I'm on 65 grand as chief exec and that and blah, 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 you wouldn't be able to get a community asset. Rightly, you wouldn't be able to get a community asset transfer because it's just me making money out of the park, you know what I mean? Whereas this is about improving the park, improving the building and creating social enterprises. That's perfectly within the criteria fitting for community asset transfer.
Another question.
There's a list of these buildings.
Is there a list?
Yeah.
There is a list.
Online.
You know what as well, Vic, you can if you can demonstrate that a particular building in Luton, which is owned by the council, has been used as a use value by the community over the last 5 years, you can insist that it gets put on the register. Yeah, we did that with Marsh houses. We write in, say, right, bang, before we went for the asset transfer, we registered it as, and what that does is it makes so the council can't sell it off without giving first dibs to community proposals.
Interesting stuff. Not gonna lie, you guys are quite unique in what you're dealing with, and you're obviously it's a need and there's a self.
Can I say another question? Can I say another?
Yeah, one at a time, Abdul.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
all right, but yeah, go on. It's all right. No worries. Paul, have you finished?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to ask him, I guess, I think that the question's obviously in mind already, but what structure would you, so based on community structure, social enterprise, which would you say is best in terms of providing services and help to the community?
I'm a big believer in cooperatives, yeah, because although we're all being schooled in pyramids and it's in our head to compete and all of that, as I said right a few minutes ago, that spirit of competition and money and all of that can wreck up things, man. So, you know, I'm a big believer in cooperatives. Other people might think it's better to have a more normally shaped enterprise with your chief executive, and you know, that's each for their own. But me personally, Paul, my view is that it's well worth the stress and added work there is involved in collective decision making. So you're all workers and you're all bosses at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that. Yeah. I think in communities that works better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that for me, Paul?
Yeah. If you can reach from there.
It's a round table sort of thing, isn't it? No one's the boss. Everyone's working together. And that's
exactly. Because who wants a boss? You know what I mean? You know.
That's right.
I think that
that's right. So do you feel
it could create a lot of you know, if everyone's a boss, then it could create a lot of tension. It could create a lot of confusion because it might not really get, you know, where you want to go, like, because everybody has a say in the matter. How do you actually resolve that matter then? If everybody has a say, how do you go by democracy or whatever, or voting or whatever?
Just to be clear, Abdul, remember, like what I'm saying is that the management of the organisation is collectivised, cooperative, not the actual functions of the organisation. You've got someone who's in charge of accounts, you've got someone who's in charge of the bar, you've got some, you know what I mean? So there's a normal responsibility for carrying out your job as it would be in any business. It's no different to that. So you'll have a department doing this, and I'm in my department, community organising and outreach and that, I'm my own boss there, you know what I mean, what I do within outreach. But so it doesn't mean that you don't have areas of responsibility within that co-op, but it's the actual management. So what we do is we'll meet every week when we're a cooperative function. We meet every week. What your manager would normally do is look at timekeeping, did the task get achieved. We do that as a group, and then you reflect on it, and people, you know what I mean? It's kind of, it's more, it's your own want to get things done rather than the fact you might get sacked if you don't. Do you know what I mean? There's a different spirit in it, and I'm not saying, Abdul, it's not more difficult. It is more difficult. It's easier if you've got a load of money yourself and you can say to someone, if you don't turn up at 8 o'clock, mate, you're off the site. That's easy, you know. Cooperatives management is much more difficult, but worth it in the long run, because as you can see with us, you know, we've endured all sorts of hurdles and barriers and been going for decades against that. We're still here, you know. So that's just me though, Abdul. You know, I believe strongly in co-ops and the extra work that's needed to make them work.
All right, we'll take one more question.
Yeah, go ahead, Sydney.
Yeah.
Glenn, I think I really want to say thank you for the work that you've done, first of all, and it's amazing that you're bringing together the community like this. You know, I live in the area and I've seen firsthand what you do. This thing that you on the 25th of July. How can I get more involved with it to try and help make sure that this vital resource in our community doesn't get taken away by the council? How can I?
Well, in a big way, my bro. If you can be there on the 25th at the town hall, that's the first big help. Because, and then in terms of getting more involved, you were there the other day. It was lovely to see you there, you know. And we're there most days, you know, and weekend nights. So I was saying earlier on, you know, there's a space there for people to come in and cross-fertilize, if you like, share and co-produce and all of that. So come down, man, any time, you know, any time. And that's the beauty of having a building like that. It's like, it's just there, and, you know, we're there most of the time. So anytime, you know, you want to get more involved. And one more thing, you know, if people have got enterprise ideas that they'd like to do, you know, today we had someone come in wanting to do mindfulness support for people, you know, because, you know, the mental health services are far from able to cope with the situation before pandemic, never mind now, you know. So some of that grassroots community solutions, you don't need an office there to do that. It's a space there that we can, you know what I mean? So just please come down, man, and that's an invitation to everybody. If you've got something you think's worth doing and worthwhile, and we can support it, we will, man. That's what the place is for.
Love that.
You'll definitely see me there very soon. Within the next well, next week, hopefully. I'll
see you there, bro. See you there. I look forward to it.
Nice.
Glenn, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, people. For having me, yeah.
We really appreciate the work that you've done up there. I mean, you guys.
I'm one of many, man. One of many, you know.
Yeah, well, you and your friends are unique still. Let's be real, they're unique.
Thank you,
yeah.
Thank you, Spencer, man. Big up, man.
Nice, man.
Good night, everybody, then.
Yeah.
Cheers, Glenn.
Bye, Glenn.
Nice one, Glenn.
See you on the 25th, yeah?
Yeah, see you on the 25th, everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Say it one more time. Give the date out again one more time, Glenn.
It's the 25th of July, 6 p.m, Monday, 25th of July, 6 p.m. at the town hall. And I'll put it on Facebook and that anyway, nearer the time. So keep your eye on that. And if you can all be there, I'd be most grateful.
Yo, Glenn, word of advice, man. Start using WhatsApp, man. WhatsApp's the Facebook thing's long.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Get on the WhatsApp tip, man. It makes it a lot easier, brother.